track, though. And let's go over to Osama bin Javaid, because he actually is joining us from the town of Bath. That's in Quneitra. And Osama, you're on the ground there. Tell us what an expanding Israeli occupation is doing to communities there.
Well, I can do better than telling you, Sami. Let me move out of the frame, and you can actually see Israeli tanks on Syrian soil. This is, as you mentioned, the town of Bath. That is the limit of Bath, where you see those trenches, and beyond that are Israeli tanks, Israeli military posts, checkpoints, as well as Israeli troops and jeeps which come every day to this area. Where I'm standing right now is actually tracks of tanks, which tells us that we can verify with locals that these tanks come much deeper into the territory on a daily basis. There is very little electricity in this area. Communication lines are cut. And people say that they've been living in fear. They've not been able to enjoy the liberation from the Assad regime because they feel now they're facing an occupying power. As you see in those satellite images, Israel has taken more and more territory. According to the 1974 agreement, this buffer zone between Israel and Syria was supposed to be a demilitarized zone. But the Israeli military is deep inside Syrian territory, taking towns and cutting off villages and cutting off people's contacts from each other. So it is an ongoing occupation, and according to people here, it continues to expand on a daily basis.
How do people feel about that, Osama, is what I'm wondering. I mean, do they feel, especially as we watch a flurry of diplomats coming in and out of Syria in these last few days, do they feel abandoned by the world, as few of them have said very little about what's happening there with the expanding occupation?
Well, you could see a stark contrast between what is being said by international leaders who are coming to Damascus. You see the Arab leaders, the Turks, the Jordanians talk about the Israeli occupation, but nothing from the so-called West of the world, where leaders have come in and they've talked about Syria, but not at all about what the Israeli occupation is doing. And you asked me about people. As you see the street behind me, there were trees lining the street all the way to the village of Hamidiyah. Now, Israeli forces have taken out all of those trees, their electrical pylons that they've put up for communications, and these forces continue to come in every day. For the people, as you mentioned, they feel not just abandoned by the international community, but they're still asking questions of what is going to be their future from their own government as well. How will they respond to this? Obviously, Ahmed al-Sharah's government does not want a confrontation with the Israelis, but for the people here, they feel that an occupation of the Assad regime has now been replaced by an occupation from Israel.
And Osama, we know there's been Israeli hits near Aleppo. What's been targeted there?
In the last 4 weeks or so, you've seen multiple areas being attacked. Israel's justification is that it is targeting laboratories, weapons manufacturing sites, depots, military installations, everything that it feels could go, quote, in the wrong hands. And in Aleppo, in the Safir area, there was a site which, according to Israel, was a laboratory and weapons manufacturing site just a day before the Damascus countryside was hit. And this has been an ongoing thing where Israeli strikes have continued. We were in Latakia. We saw the entire fleet of the Syrian Navy at the bottom of the ocean. We've witnessed outside of Damascus the Pantsir systems, the air defense systems which have been taken out. So anything that Israel saw as heavy weaponry, some things that could help defend the borders, whether they're maritime borders, air defenses, they've all been taken out. And people here are angry at that because they say that it was not the property of the militias which were here. It wasn't the personal property of Bashar al-Assad. It was essentially built on the tax money of the Syrian people, and Israel is continuing to take it out as it deems fit. And that people, according to people here, it is essentially in contravention of all laws, all norms. And you've heard from international leaders such as the Jordanians and the Turks asking Israel to protect and respect the Syrian territorial integrity and sovereignty. But it appears that Israel, just like it has not heard any of those international pleas for the Palestinians, is refusing to hear them about the Syrians as well.
And that's Osama bin Javaid in Bath, Quneitra.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.